Hello? Alright. My my god. This was so annoying. Not gonna lie to you. So anyway, um I recorded like 15 minutes of this. I had a whole tirade about Skyrim. And it just wasn't working. But anyway. So alright, so what I'm doing here is that I am painting my so this is what I want to do. I wanted to paint kind of like not a scene, but just like my what the book felt to me of like what I envision in my head. I'm not very good at like of seeing pictures in my head. It's usually like just like black, right? Like there's like I can't really like formulate images very well. I've been trying and like looking up a lot of stuff to like how to do that, but it's very hard. It's very hard to like pop an image out in my head. So with this is kind of like my take on like a book review. Like I'm gonna put like a scene on canvas. This is just like the first part. I just wanted to show kind of like what I was kind of like thinking of what it would look like. And since it is what's it oil, that it takes a really long time to like dry. So this is like my first layer of it or whatever. And I envisioned Socrates here, and the dude he was talking to, I think it was Trasius. I think it was Starcy. Oh, it wasn't. It was the other guy. It was some other guy that he's speaking to like the majority of the time. I forgot. I've read the book like I guess a month ago now, and I've just been kind of lacking off. I've been reading other books. I read The Problems with Philosophy by Bertrand Russell, and then I read the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, and then I've been reading this one very awesome book that I found at Barnes and Noble called The Philosophy Book: Big Ideas Simply Explained, and it kind of goes through like the past things in philosophy and um kind of like what people or like it goes in order, right? It goes in order of like it starts with Tales of Miletus or whatever, and his like philosophy and his kind of line of thinking and like a very generalized version of like what his thought process was. Um, and I really like it because it kind of showcases what to like start off in. So if like with let's say Lao Tzu, right? It tells you that the book that Lao Tzu is most famous for is the Tao Te Ching. If you want to learn more about Lao Tzu, you should read his book. And then it goes on to like to Nietzsche, from Aristotle to Nietzsche to Bertrand Russell, and it just keeps going. And then it just it tells you kind of a direction to follow. So I like that. So I'll probably like go back once I finish it and start buying more from whoever is next. I think right now I'm still just like in the art book. I'm still in kind of the beginning stages of it, where it goes from Lao Tzu to Pythagoras. Go read about his cult. See what kind of. Actually Pythagoras doesn't have any books. I don't think he has any books. And the Buddha, the big dog Siddhartha, his books are a little bit crazier. He has one book in here called the Tipitaka. So I'll probably end up buying that. But I already had like a few other books that I wanted to read. I have A.C. Garling's The History of Philosophy. I was gonna read that as like a companion book to this other history, kind of like history. The philosophy book is like a history of philosophy, but with like pictures, and then the history of philosophy by A.C. Garling is like not has no pictures, but it's like in simple terms. So I'm gonna kind of combine those two, but in between that, Alexis has a lot of book recommendations for me that I need to read because I made her read The Republic. So now I need to read one of her books, and then she'll read one of my books afterwards. I forget what her book is. I don't really have it right now, but I know it's like a love novel book. Cause that's that's the type of books that she's into. She's into like fantasy romance and what's it call it? kind of just like I don't know. I don't want to call them romance books because they're very varied. Besides like romance, they're kind of like dramas. Like if you were watching a Netflix show, but it was as a book. That's what essentially those are. I don't think I explained that properly at all. Um, but what I wanted to do in this video, 10 minutes later, is to kind of um just talk about like what I thought about the book and how it made me, I guess, like feel, just like the concepts. I'm not really gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna have like an analytic review. I don't think I understood the book at that level to where I could like do a review for you like that. Maybe maybe one day some of these more foundational books that people really research and look over and like kind of go through in philosophy class, I might do a more of a deep dive on what they were trying to convey once I have a better understanding of actual of just philosophy in general. But if you like go in my YouTube and AFALOZ, you'll see in the community guides that I have like but community posts that I have like a section where I'm kind of exploring my own philosophical take on like the reason that we exist. And I want to like dive because I feel like individuals should have their own, like, clearly individuals need to like make their own purpose, right? Like everyone should formulate their own idea of what their life's purpose is and why they continue to exist, because at the end of the day you really don't have to exist. Like you don't have to. People will be sad. I am not advocating for this. This is just me kind of communicating a thought. Please don't take anything out of this to where you would cease existence. Someone out there will miss you, surely. anyway yeah, so you don't really like need to, but like who said that? Was it Nietzsche? Or it was Camus. It might have been Camus or something. I don't know, I don't remember. But one of them is like, hey, yeah, you could die, but isn't it cool that you're still living regardless of that fact? And as a Buddhist, not a very good Buddhist, but as a Buddhist, that is like kind of the thought process in returning to nothingness, right? And that's like the beautiful aspect of Buddhism, is that you're really trying to teach yourself that you really shouldn't want anything. You shouldn't want for desire, and that really means that you shouldn't want for life. You shouldn't really cling to life, but that also means at the same time that you should not cling to death. Like you should not want to die, and you really just want to, I don't want to say in limbo, but you should be content in whatever it is that you're doing and not want to go either or, right? You're not really trying to want to live the fullest life, like whatever that could mean, because you living right now is the fullest life. And just because someone else seems like they're living a fuller life than you doesn't necessarily mean that they truly are living a fuller life than you, because you existing in this world is tantamount to you living the fullest life that you can be, because you can't live more than you're living now. That doesn't make any sense. And it also kind of goes over the concept of like not wanting for death. Like you shouldn't want to die. Like you shouldn't want to do that. Returning to nothingness doesn't necessarily mean that you should die. It means that you should be content. For me personally, that means that you should be content with where you're at, and if you happen to move up or move down, then so be it. As the great Kurt Vonnegut, it is what it is. I don't think he actually says that. I think he says like, so it goes or something. I think that's his saying. I haven't read a Kurt Vonnegut book in a while, but that's my jam. That's my dude. Took a quick sip of Coke, but Um, yeah. So this painting that I'm doing, you're seeing in the background, it is just a simple representation of how the book made me feel, of just like two dudes talking. And I was trying to think of like what where they could be, right? I was like trying to think of like ancient Greek houses, and I was like, more than likely they're not like in some elaborate ass like house. They're probably like in some wood looking house. They got some dirt in the back. They got some probably like some wooden what's it call it wooden roofs. And I don't know. It ended up looking very pink and yellow, and it looks cool, but I have a lot more to add to it. And maybe like when I videotape me adding stuff to it. Oh my, excuse me. When I videotape adding more stuff to it, um that's like my second part of reviewing, not reviewing, but like my thoughts and where this book led me to. And I know we haven't really gone to that yet, but the, these are all just my thoughts. This is just a YouTube video. It's not that big of a deal, and really, it's just for me to like communicate with you guys, my children, on just life in general, and like how I used to think as a I'm 31 right now. I'm about to be 32. How I think, how my thought process at this age in life, and maybe when you're 30, like how old will I be? Like Lily, and when you're 30, I'll be like 50 something. So, maybe like you'll look back on this, and then while I'm like 50, and you kind of just want to see like, okay, well, what the hell was my dad thinking at 30 years old? And now nothing, nothing of worth, just a bunch of stuttering. Um, but yeah, I don't profess to like know anything about anything, and I thought that was like super funny because um in the book he starts off by like saying like, yeah, I'm a fucking idiot, yeah, like I'm a big old idiot, and I don't really know shit, I don't know anything about anything. And um and if you think you know stuff about things, then you're wrong, bud. And it makes me laugh. Like the whole book is, I think, is pretty funny. I think it's like a funny book. And listen, cause put on conspiracy hat. It's conspiracy time. That's how it really Asian. It's conspiracy time, boys. Okay, so if you think about it, much like our brother Jesus, this is these are just stories about a dude, right? And all these people, like, yeah, I got recollections of Socrates, yeah, I got recollections of Jesus. Like, if you like think about the Bible, right? Let's think about the Bible. I'm gonna be jumping in so many places right now. So in the book he talks about how the good man does not profess to be a good man, and he is just existing, much like a Buddhist. He is just existing, right? And he'll do good deeds, but he's not really like, out there be like, yeah, guy, I just fed this bum. I just fed this bum, man, and you should praise me because I fed this guy or gal who was starving in the streets. And I think that you should tell me that I'm awesome. And if you don't tell me I'm awesome, I'm gonna go take that sandwich back. Like, he's not like, the good person is just like doing what he can. He's like giving as much as he can if he's like has that ability to give. If he doesn't, then he's minding his own business and he's not harming anyone. Like, being good doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do better for others, as long as you're not impeding others or like putting anyone else down, and you're just like living your life to what you think, as long as you're not like hurting anyone and you're living your life to what you think is a good life, then you are a good and virtuous person. That's how I generally think he tries to convey a good and virtuous person, is that you are contributing to who you need to contribute to, whether that is like just your family, and like just your family, like that's a massive thing, whether that's just yourself, or just society in general, or like a community, whatever. Like maybe you're like contributing to an AA meeting, and that's all you do. Like maybe that's all you do, and all you do is like you go to work, you you like eat food, and then you go to an AA meeting, and that's what makes you happy because you're helping out these like alcoholics, and for them to like follow the same path that you're leading, and then for them to realize that like they shouldn't be drinking anymore, like, right? Like that's what you do. You don't like go looking for accolades. You just want to like help people out, and that you're a virtuous person. And for the person that's like in AA, and if all he does or she does is go to AA and is following the teachings of, Alcohol's Anonymous, and is like refraining from hurting themselves by drinking alcohol because whatever the reason where they would need to go to AA, and they're like, handling it that way. And they might think that they're not like helping anyone, but in that meeting they're like forming a bond, a community, and they're doing what they need to do to strengthen their community and to kind of be a virtuous person in that regard. And I think it like a lot of people like kind of take his Socrates or Plato's words literally, but um not really. But I guess like on the first read through you would take it pretty literally. But I think that can be applied to anything, that like you're a virtuous person if you are living your life, right? If you're living your life and you're content and you're not harming anyone, you're virtuous. But anyway, let's go back to Jesus. Let's go back to my conspiracy. And listen. So, in the book, at the very end, spoiler alert for a fucking 20,000, 2,000 year old book, spoiler alert. He goes about saying that we should not take books seriously, right? We should not. I don't know if I should say that. Don't take me too literally. This is all what's it? Dang it, I'm losing the word. Just my thought. No, what is the word, dude? Not a reproduction, but it's like, oh, why am I having such a hard time? Not a summarization. It's like, it's in the tip of my tongue, bro. Comment if you know what word I'm trying to say. I generally can't remember what word I'm trying to say, but he goes about saying that like, because I thought this was like super funny, that like, yeah, don't take this too seriously, and that you shouldn't really put too much stock into someone else's words, and you should really like kind of like think on your own of like what virtuous. No, I gotta get the book. Let me get the book, dude. Okay, that might have been a little loud. I got the book. So I have the Penguin edition, and they give you like a little summary, but it's number 10. I remember it being 10. I'm pretty sure it was 10. By 10, I mean book 10. Alright, so part 10, theory of art. Art and illusion. And then they have like a little thing that says that they treated the works of Homer and the poets as their Bible, and in Plato's Ion, Homer is claimed as a teacher of everything from carpentry to morals and generalships. It is a claim that Plato has primarily in mind, but there is nothing to suggest that he is not serious, though he is often characteristically ironical in the general contention in section 1 that poetry's illusion fits well into the scheme of the divided line. Wait, where does he say that you shouldn't take this seriously? Oh, right here. Oh yeah, the dude's name is Glaucon. It's not. It wasn't Thrasymachus or whatever. Glaucon. I'm like trying to read it. I can't find it. I'd have to like reread it. But I do remember like thinking that he was just saying that like yeah, artists and like poets they take things to like another level, and that they're kind of, I don't want to say ridiculous, but like you shouldn't believe everything that a writer says or whatever, something akin to that. And I know I just wasted like fucking 3 minutes looking for that, but um and then that made me think about how I was talking about like the virtuous man, right? The virtuous man, a true virtuous man, doesn't like relate his like good deeds, but then he states like that the bad person tells everyone that they're good, and they'll go around doing good deeds with an ulterior motive, and that's what makes them bad. And it's hard to spot a bad person pretending to be good with an ulterior motive, and everyone treats that person like they're the good person, being good even though they have an ulterior motive, and everyone treats the bad person who's like, the good person who's like not telling anyone what they're doing, and everyone just assumes that person's like lazy, and they're immoral, and they're bad, and they're like doing bad things because they don't tell people like the stuff that they're doing. So they think that those guys are like are actually the bad guys, so like it's reverse or whatever. And and then it went on to like the chapter 10 or book 10, where he talks about like, yeah, you shouldn't believe everything that someone writes, or like the representations of like the author. You shouldn't like fully believe that, and you should always question it, right? What a philosopher thing to say. And I started thinking about like the Bible, and the Bible has homeboy Jesus, who is like touted as like this great dude, and then we have like a few glimpses of like, yeah, this guy is the devil, and he's like a shit lord, complete shit heel, and you should burn him at the stake if you ever see him. So I was like, well, okay, well, what if the Antichrist, and put it in perspective, what if they warn you of Jesus himself, and he's actually the Antichrist? What a plot twist! That would be a solid plot twist to that book, that Jesus ends up being the Antichrist, all following him, vibing with Jesus, and then the devil, Lucifer, because like the devil is so vague, just like God is. Like we don't, who's the devil, who is God, right? But we do have names, do have actual characters of Jesus and Lucifer. And what if Lucy is the cool guy, and then Jesus is the bad guy, right? Like what if? But then I start thinking about also relating to Jesus and to Socrates himself, is that after reading chapter 10 or book 10, is that we shouldn't trust Plato. We shouldn't trust Plato. We shouldn't trust the whoever wrote the Bible. And what if Socrates, conspiracy theory, what if Socrates isn't real, and he is Plato's character, and he is pushing his education, or like his form of education, his like trying to be famous-esque thing? Because I mean, like, the characters themselves are seriously what he's talking about, right? So like Socrates doesn't write any book, and he's just trying to expand people's consciousness, people's mind, and that he's like question everything, blah blah blah. This is like what a good person would do, and he's like describing himself, right? He's describing himself as the good person because he is doing what the good person needs to do, and he's not like creating a book, trying to get notoriety from it, and he knows his own limitations, and he's just trying to help where he can. And then you have you have Plato, who's over here writing books, making all these claims and all these stories, getting people to like join in on his thoughts or whatever, and to state that like, yeah, Socrates definitely existed and he said all these things, and then I'm gonna start an academy based on his teachings and my teachings, and you guys should all join me and give me your shmoney. And he was basically the first influencer, and then he influenced a dude named Aristotle. Aristotle starts a whole a symposium, and he's like, what, actually this guy's thinking is kind of broken, it's not correct. I have my own line of thinking now. And he tries to differentiate himself, and then that's kind of where the splinter happens. But the case of the matter is, like, what if Socrates isn't real? Wouldn't that be absolutely hilarious? Because the more I read about the history of philosophy in this philosophy book, it is truly true that a lot of like philosophy started off on Plato and Aristotle's account, and it's or Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. But let's remove Socrates for a minute, right? Because he's like, he's like the founder. Let's remove homeboy for a second, and let's assume all his teaching stems from Plato, and it's all Plato. And if Plato is like the first line of thought, and as soon as he has an actual student, Aristotle, he deviates, and they start the splinter. They truly started, like they just showed the dialectic method in themselves, that the thesis of Socrates creates Plato, and that's the antithesis. But that wouldn't make sense because they have the same line of thinking. Like he didn't question the thoughts of Socrates. Well, at least not yet. I don't know yet, right? So I haven't read everything, so I don't know yet. But from right now, it seems more so that Plato is the thesis of Aristotle's as the antithesis, because they stem from the same similar ground, and the dialectic method starts going crazy, and it starts going and going and going. And if you look at like the footnotes, that's like a very famous quote. Everything's like a footnote of Socrates, or Plato or whatever, Aristotle, is that every single kind of divergent line of thinking has some attribution to these two, and everyone else gets kind of influenced by these guys. And the more you think about like even Socrates' society, his like golden society, and how Christianity is like a bastardization of that society, right? But then at the head of it, instead of like a virtuous person, you have I don't want to say like one god, but you have like the church. Like the church is the center of it, and it's the power structure. And sure, they put someone above them, but the person above them is like no one can figure out who it is. So the real human person above them is the church, and they're the center. And then they make this like wide-reaching saying like, yeah, you're virtuous if you follow our rules. And it's like a true bastardization of his perfect society. And it's awesome. Not that they chose to that someone chose to kind of make something out of this, but that even if they didn't, right, that means that the line of thinking for humanity is pretty linked it all leads to something. I have this like running theory that I keep telling Alexis. Sorry, my eye itches so bad. I have this running theory that much like how I forgot what this philosopher's name was, but he says that um that we're like all running off history, like right, we're all running off um like we are history or something kind of that, and that um we build off like the sciences, we build off of our previous experience, and then we build further and further and further. And I have this theory, conspiracy theory, that like the world, maybe not the world, but like human consciousness, since we're building upon it, with every kind of this is such a hard word for me to say. Eration? No. Eration? I said the same thing, but every time we kind of move forward to like a next generation, and we keep keep getting better, we not only do we like expand and keep, I like to call it compartmentalization, like we niche up, niche down. We're always breaking off, stemming, much like fungus. We keep kind of spreading and having different thoughts, and then those lead somewhere, and then the prevailing one kind of keeps expanding and grows stronger, much like a how everything grows. Like if you look at nature, it's exactly how nature grows. You look at a tree, it yeah, you see it growing up, but you also got to look at the branches of the trees, and how much those branches are trying to overpower the foundation, the trunk, to be the new foundation for another section. And you even see it where one branch grows a little too big, and it truly splinters the foundation, and then eventually sometimes still like that foundation was strong enough to where both branches can live together, and then they can all grow more branches. But then sometimes the branch falls off, and then that branch dies. You see dead wood. But then when some other times, like that branch will fall off, and a seed is strong enough, and it survives, and it grows off of that dying branch, and it grows its own trunk and its own foundation, and it grows, and sometimes it grows even more, and stronger than the original tree that it like fell off of. Crazy. Nature is crazy. But everything in nature we're truly following. We all have the same kind of fungus path, right? We're all trying to find the path of least resistance, and whatever is gonna get us forward. But my thought now is like, what is forward? What does that mean? Like where exactly is our line of thinking trying to get to? And I wrote this on the community thing, that our purpose, or our differentiating factor, like I mean a lot of philosophers think this, that our differentiating factor is that we can reason, right? We can second guess things, we can doubt, we can I think before I therefore I am. I doubt, therefore I am. I can doubt my doubts. And well, we have the ability to reason and doubt, where other animals don't have that yet. And it's crazy to me that like so I got really distracted with this yellow. This thing is so yellow. I was working so hard to try and like not touch the not touch the brush with the pink part. And then like I have to like work really hard here to like try and get that chunky yellow on these guys like heads. But you can kind of see like where I'm trying to go with this painting. I'm definitely gonna add more stuff to it. I thought this looked kind of cool, because it looked like they're like being illuminated, right? Like their thought process is like illuminating the whole screen, and that's like their brain. It's just like two dudes, could be two ladies talking. And it's pretty awesome. But what was I saying? I was talking about trees. What else was I saying? Oh, that our purpose is to reason, right? We're given this ability to reason. That's what differentiates us from other animals, is that we can reason, we can doubt. But that means that our reasoning has a purpose, that we can reason for a reason. That we need to figure out why we have that ability, and I think that's what philosophy is about. And a lot of the branches, we're all diving off into different things, and everything kind of leads to something else. And like there's people that get attached to this one aspect in life, or to this one aspect. And I think like the cool thing about philosophy is that just like life, you can kind of do like whatever you want, kind of just like it is an individual process if you want it to be. And it kind of, once you like learn more about it, like as I'm learning, I have these thoughts and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't very brand new thought of mine. It's crazy that someone thought about that 70 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and I just like thought about it now like it was brand new. But isn't that cool that like even though I've never read any of these things, that like my mind goes to what that thought process could evolve into, or that I have a thought randomly that someone has already thought about 70 years ago. Like I'm trying to think, man. Who was that? Who was I like? I'm like, man, that guy knows some stuff here. That guy knows some things. Wasn't Russell? Believe in life, yeah. Good boy. Where is it? Is it? Anyway, yeah. So my thing is that like, I think we have a reason to think, and I'm trying to figure out what that reason is. Because I was thinking that right now we're the only animals we assume that have the ability to reason, and that animals kind of live their life through their purpose, through their like innate settings. What I like to think about, like a video game. They live through their innate settings, and that's just how they function. Whether it's to survive, it's to hunt, to find comfort, whatever the case is. Like that is their innate function, and we don't know what our innate function is. Maybe just like other animals, it was to like reproduce, and that's like our innate function is to survive and be the surviving species, and to kind of eat everything. Like that could have been all of our purpose. But now that I think we have the ability to reason, we're sort of like the gods of these animals, right? Like they can't comprehend that we're thinking. And if we were able to find another species that is not human, that can also reason as well as us, then that means that there's an above state beyond reason. Because that means that someone else, another animal, another species, can get to the point of reasoning like we can. And if there is an above state to non-reasoning to reasoning, then that means there's something above reasoning, and that could be what our God is. And as long as we don't have to find God, we just need to find someone or something, another species that can also reason, and we will have proven that God exists. Alright, I'll see you guys later. That was a lot.